Okay. Welcome to this live webcast on laartstream.com. I'm John Blyth Barrymore, and our guest tonight is Melisa Richardson Banks, who she's published this book, Musings, early last year, right?
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
And it's a book of photographs of the LA Arts District, which is where we are. So, Melisa, first of all, how long have you lived in Los Angeles?
I've lived in downtown Los Angeles since 1993. So I moved here from Texas. I fell in love with downtown and ultimately moved to the Arts District.
So you moved here pretty quickly after moving here. You moved here downtown in '93.
Oh, absolutely.
Yeah.
We came directly here. We fell in love with it. I have a now ex-husband. We struck oil back in Texas, moved downtown, and eventually I always say that we kind of moved to Beverly, but we never made it quite to Beverly.
Well, this part of Los Angeles is turning into Beverly Hills.
It is, absolutely.
Yeah, and I mean that in both a good and bad way. So obviously, let me see, 1993. Yeah, it was still cheap down here back then.
Oh, absolutely, it was.
Yeah, all of Los Angeles is currently being gentrified. I've lived here since 1954. So neighborhoods that, like, there's no neighborhood is being left ungentrified, which is nice because a lot of these neighborhoods were very sketchy and now they're becoming very nice. But there's not going to be any place left for middle-class people, let alone poor people. And that's certainly going to be the story here in the Arts District, isn't it?
Yeah, it's been transitioning quite a bit. I mean, that's actually why I started photographing. It was kind of an interesting experience for me because I typically either produce museum exhibitions or do cultural projects supporting other art institutions or artists. So to actually be on the flip side was quite a transition for me, and a little nerve-wracking and maybe quite shy at first until I actually realized that I do have an eye. It doesn't mean it's the best eye, but I have an eye that I'm proud of. But it's taken me a time to kind of feel comfortable with that in the past couple of years since I've become a photographer.
Well, I've looked through the book, and you'll see some of the images behind us as we converse, and really well-composed images.
Oh, thank you.
Thank you. It's shocking that you did it all. So you.
The only iPhone, yeah.
Yes, but that's an iPhone 6 or 6
Yes.
Plus, right?
Mm-hmm.
When you did the book, some of these are iPhone 5 photos, aren't they?
Some of them are iPhone 4, so. I was probably the last person in LA to get a phone, a cell phone anyways. I always jokingly say that, so I was kind of slow to embrace technology. So to actually embrace it, and it kind of coincided with the time that the neighborhood started to change dramatically. And by walking my dogs every day in the Arts District and having to stop and pause, I'm an early bird too, and also love the evening. So the lighting was just right, and I kept noticing changes. And I started photographing.
So I'm trying to figure when this neighborhood really started to change quickly. I mean, all of Los Angeles was a mess in the 70s, and Mayor Tom Bradley, who was a very popular mayor, three-term mayor of Los Angeles, had a vision for a resurrected downtown. Mm-hmm. And I remember the Bonaventure Hotel was the first big investment he got in downtown Los Angeles.
Right.
But of course, he was in office for 12 years, so by the time he left office, they were building the Disney Center, and the core of downtown has been completely gentrified at this point.
Absolutely.
And so it's moving out to what used to be the jewelry district, and out here to what. How long has this been the Arts District? Because, I mean, we're only a block from Skid Row.
It got named. It actually got officially named the Arts District probably in the early 2000s, and actually Joel Bloom, who has since passed away in 2007. He was kind of our de facto mayor of the Arts District. And his store was the only retail store up until probably 2008, 2009 in the neighborhood. And he basically was one of the really primary leaders of change in the neighborhood. Sometimes our neighborhood, it gets accused, I think, of being NIMBYist, if you will, and we're not, because we've long been advocates of change. Our neighborhood has been really slower to grow because we've been around longer as a community than other similar downtown neighborhoods. Our neighborhood really didn't noticeably start changing for me until I started seeing changes in 2008, 2009, really 2010, late 2011 when I started photographing. I just kind of woke up one morning and really saw something that was a noticeable change. And every year it has increased dramatically, so much that I feel like this year, 2015, I can't even keep up. I had to kind of finally take a step back, which is why you're starting to see it behind us too, some of the photographs. This is actually down in the Arts District, but some of the things that you'll see behind us are part of the South Bay, because this past year, I did a month-to-month beach rental just so I could breathe and step back and take a new look, fresh look at my neighborhood. So in back behind us, you'll see right that's actually, I'm in Redondo Beach, Hermosa Beach in Manhattan. So I get the luxury of living in both neighborhoods right now, and then I just needed to step back and breathe with it because it was just so fast in the Arts District.
Yeah, and the change is the change of going from a sketchy neighborhood to a very upscale. It's becoming a very upscale neighborhood. I mean, somebody just dropped $150 million on a piece of property here, and they're going to be building luxury.
Well, and I must say,
apartment homes.
And I know you didn't mean it in this way, but I would not ever refer to my neighborhood as sketchy, but I know other people do, and I appreciate that, but I don't.
Let me assure you that
I'm a biggest booster of
20 years
downtown.
ago, 6th and Alameda was a very sketchy neighborhood.
Okay, that might be true in that part of it, but I always felt, in fact, until recently, downtown and the Arts District as well were the lowest crime rates in the city. So it wasn't until, it's pretty much stayed the same in most ways. I kind of liken it to when you get room service and you don't know what's in the tray. Somebody just took the lid off and there's this beautiful array of offerings. And that's kind of how I look at the Arts District, is that someone took the lid off of something that was already there. So we already had this really precious jewel of a neighborhood and really great people. And a great creative community that fostered so many wonderful artists and businesses and so much. And I truly love the neighborhood. So it's definitely, I'm going to be here as long as I can be. I hope it's for many more years. I know I have a multi-year lease, so I'm still here for at least a couple more years. But it's one of these places that once you have lived here, even if you do choose to reside elsewhere, it's like Mecca. You want to come back. And there's so many people, even as they go, it still draws you in creatively.
Yes. Is Skid Row still a block from here, or did they move?
It's still a block from here, yes. Yeah, sadly. I mean, sadly because I think so much needs to be happening.
We're at 6th and Alameda. It's like 5th or 4th.
Across the street.
Just across the street, yeah.
Yeah.
Well, they're trying to move them over now. By them, I mean the people who go to the Midnight Mission's still there, right?
Yeah,
Right.
yeah, a lot of wonderful services that are
basically the homeless in LA and the Midnight Mission, part of the gentrification of the neighborhood is they're trying to relocate the mission, their clients, for lack of a better term, and there's a lot of pushback on it because of what's happened to the rest of downtown Los Angeles.
Well, I think that's a much larger story and show to just talk about the issue of homelessness in Los Angeles, because it is really a citywide issue that we should all be addressing. And I think that the biggest issue for me has been that we have corralled people, human lives, and we try to put them in a certain place, and I don't think that's personally for me right. I think it should be distributed well throughout the city to actually, so we have the proper services. And to do what we have been doing with the homeless in Los Angeles is pretty awful in my opinion. But certainly every neighborhood, and that is a very special neighborhood in its own right. There's some, General Jeff is a community leader there, and there's a lot of wonderful people. There's Dion Joseph, one of the officers in LAPD, wonderful people. But again, that's a neighborhood that we do appreciate and support as much as possible throughout Los Angeles, but it is, I think, a longer show.
Yeah.
But the Arts District,
The Arts District. Formerly well, I guess it still is. This is where the vegetable mart is, right? Where the
We have the produce district.
Yes, where all the grocery stores in Los Angeles come down to buy fresh produce.
it's just next door.
The flower mart is not too far from here, right?
Further west a little bit, yeah.
Further west, right?
Yeah.
And of course, just right around the corner from us, like at 4th and Town.
Yes.
During the day, it's importers, mostly toy and
Sure, toy district
toy and
is
electronic importers, and then at night it's all tents
Sure.
and more homeless people. And then at 6, when the sun comes up, the tents get folded up, put between buildings, and I don't know where they go for the duration of the day, but they stay gone until the sun comes down again.
Well, the reality is we have very many districts in Los Angeles, in the Arts District as well as at the Historic Core and a lot of other wonderful districts in downtown. I mean, that's that unique fabric of what makes our downtown community special is the fact that we have so many districts. The Arts District is 52 streets officially, excuse me, and our official borders are from the Los Angeles River to Alameda, and we're here in the studio at 6th and Alameda. So the southern and the north and south borders of the Arts District would be from the 101 freeway to 7th and even beyond to Bay Street, which is further north of us.
Right, so all the way up to Union Station, because that's where the 101 is. It's immediately south of Union Station at Alameda.
me. Actually, we go up to the freeway before Union Station.
Right. Right. Well, that's it's 52 streets. You mean it's 52 blocks?
52 blocks.
Yeah. Well,
Excuse me.
these things have a way of what's the word? Dissolving into their neighborhoods.
Well, expanding. Our neighborhood's
yeah.
really expanding. I think
Yeah.
that's actually been, you mentioned earlier at the beginning, we talked about how this has become, a very a neighborhood that people enjoy, that are starting to come to. It's like the Beverly Hills, if you will.
Right.
But it's the boundaries are really beginning to dissolve, if you will. They're kind of blending in as we go forward because we have now, south of 7th, there's quite a bit of wonderful activity going on in terms of a lot of new galleries. I'd say at least 8 to 10 art galleries, many of them from the West Side and from New York as well, are moving to that side of town. And that's going to be really, I think that's going to be the biggest growth of the Arts District as it expands what has been these official quote unquote boundaries.
Right.
On the east bank of the river is another exciting. If you go over the river between 1st and 6th, you do have quite a few galleries over there, another 8 to 10 galleries. And so the excitement is that there's still this changeover. We formerly were a community of maybe 1,500 visual artists, now a community of nearly 5,000 to 6,000 people. A majority of the visual artists have moved, but they're still here, coming here to
Right.
visit. But you do have really a community of makers, and that's exciting because we're zoned industrial. Because we're zoned industrial, you have this, that's why we are able to have roasting companies here, the coffee roasters, which has been really wonderful, and the brewing. So that's been very exciting with Iron Triangle opening up, and Boomtown, and now Arts District Brewing Company, and you have Angel City, and then several other brewing companies, and that's exciting. And that makes us special.
You've got galleries going all opening up all the way over to Spring. So
Well,
that's what I mean about it. It's basically, it also dissolves into the neighborhoods around it. I mean, West Hollywood was, when I lived in West Hollywood, it was an area. It wasn't, and when it became an incorporated city, it got smaller. Laurel Canyon used to be considered West Hollywood.
Right.
Right, and the same thing with Beverly Hills before West Hollywood. Laurel Canyon at one time was considered part of it was called Beverly Hills. But when cities incorporate, they get actual borders and they
Sure.
get smaller. But neighborhoods, districts, I mean, Hollywood is sort of a nebula. Hollywood, Studio City, Van Nuys, North Hollywood, they're all Los Angeles. They're just, they're sort of like loosely defined neighborhoods of Los Angeles.
Well, unlike that with the Arts District, it's a pretty tight-knit community and it's pretty finite. Even with the expansion and things that are happening, I mean, a lot of folks, when they have purchased my book or looked at my photography and followed me online, either as Downtown Muse or South Bay Muse, they have seen there's a lot of peacefulness and quiet, and they're like, where are the people? And I think what's really special about this community, and even, well, so I can even say the South Bay as well, is the peace and quiet. The Arts District, well, for all of the hype about how it's the new kind of it's almost like the it girl or something happening, but the reality is it still maintains a lot of that small town flavor, and in many ways, in spite of the new developments, I think, and maybe because of it in some ways, but the reality is it's still, quite like this photo. I mean, the fact is it has a peacefulness that makes it special still too. And I think there's a growing number of residents and business owners. We work together and we want to make sure that our neighborhood maintains that character. I have to say that's what makes it very special. So.
Yeah, it was. Of course, there's also a lot of high-end restaurants opening here. And we went for a walk before the show, and I found it disturbingly quiet for an arts district. I mean, for a place that has so many factory-like buildings, I sort of expected to hear makers making. Admittedly, it was 7 o'clock at night, but artists tend to be late night people.
Well, it's never been loud, even with artists and makers. The reality, again, that's what I find attractive, not disturbing. I actually really, really love that it's quiet. I mean, that makes it special for me. I loved our walk around the neighborhood for that reason, because you got to see kind of what it feels like to live here, because it's quiet like that. And so there's an expectation sometimes when you move to a neighborhood that's supposed to be the new place, that it's going to be this loud, crazy party place. And even in the heyday, if you will, of the arts community, it never felt like this crazy, wild party place, in spite of Al's Bar, which was really fun, and it was really great to go for the music scene. Did you ever go to Al's Bar?
No.
Okay,
no.
So great, that was the vibe back then, and people were like, oh my gosh, But it's again, still, I think you have, even the artists who remain here, it's a professional community, and people work, but they work as professionals. They're not up all night drinking and partying because they're working.
No.
Yeah.
I didn't expect that. I expected to hear people, basically working. I mean, the building we're in, we're in the video studio, but downstairs there's basically a machine shop with stations that are leased out to artists with welding equipment, and it's very quiet down there now. And the whole neighborhood is quiet, and it's just bizarre for somebody who's lived in Los Angeles since 1954.
But you're helping to promote it now. Don't tell people.
To be in this little island of silence.
It's lovely.
In the middle of downtown Los Angeles.
Thank you. You're not supposed to tell. That's not what we want to tell everybody, because it is actually very special and quiet. But when we walked around, you did notice that we saw what is another transition that's happening in the neighborhood is the technology. So when we were walking, we noticed that Lucky Brand has quietly expanded, and their whole technology department has a whole brand new building now right around the corner. So we chatted a little bit with that person that runs that department. But it's also exciting to see then, you pointed out, well, what's that over there? And it was the new climbing gym that's been popular. We have a whole, so some of the things that have been happening in the neighborhood, you have a really increase of technology firms coming here. You have Oblong Industries, you have Roger TV. Oblong actually was, and I'll probably get this a little wrong, but that's okay. I'm Texan, I get some things wrong. But they basically, I think, started out something like the story goes that they started off as a special effects for the movie Matrix, and it ended up being a technology that they actually developed. And now that's been the forte and beyond of what they do. So they are this tremendous technology company. And several of the buildings that we walked past that looked like there wasn't anything going on, it's actually there were people in those buildings working with those technology companies. And so you have Google coming here and several others with the Hyperloops down the street. So there is going to be
coming
the
here.
Silicon River is here. It's going to be, this is the next place.
Speaking of, the Los Angeles River, they've talked about, I don't know what the word is, but
Revitalizing it.
Developing the banks of the Los Angeles River. Certain sections of it. Is this one of the sections?
Part of it, yeah. And actually, I have to say, one of the people that I admire most.
How they're going to ever get water in that river is another story. Okay, it's just a big concrete channel.
Yeah,
but
they're doing. The Friends of the Los Angeles River, FOLAR, has done a tremendous job, and we've been very supportive of them over the years. Yuval Bar Zimmer, who's a a resident and a business owner and a really wonderful, thoughtful developer, one of many that are in our neighborhood. Mark Borman is another. Lots of people here in the neighborhood that actually not only, they walk the walk, they talk the talk. And they do wonderful things. And I know you've all been very active with FOLAR, and I've been very proud to call him my friend and my neighbor because he has made a tremendous difference to help bring the bike path here and really doing some wonderful things and thoughtful things for the neighborhood and providing great leadership for that. But we're very excited about what will be happening. We're not all happy that the 6th Street Bridge got cancer. Who is? But we're getting a new bridge, but that's going to happen.
I didn't hear about that.
Yeah, it has cancer.
The last film I was in, we shot, it's just half a block from here,
Yeah.
coming over the 6th Street Bridge,
Right.
which on the other side of the bridge is Whittier, basically. It's
Yeah,
Whittier Boulevard, which you
absolutely.
can take to Whittier.
Yeah.
And East LA.
Yeah,
Yeah. I hadn't heard. This bridge is,
absolutely.
Well,
yeah.
it is probably
It's sad.
120 years old. So,
It's sad,
you know.
but the reality is that the community all work together, work thoughtfully with, that's one good instance of city government, and we all work together and to provide the best possible design. You know, certainly no one wants the 6th Street Bridge to go away, but it's going to go away, it's sadly. But there's some great opportunities that come with it. Hopefully we'll be getting an art park with that, and we hope we get a lot of other wonderful amenities.
The bridge is going away?
It is going away. It's going to be gone.
In other words, you're not going to be able to cross over?
Not for a while. We're just gonna, that's part of the new scene that's happening here in the Arts District. Aha.
Well, there's still.
Did I not? Yeah.
No. This is news to me. And of course, they're still fighting over the Glendale Bridge, the one that goes from basically Silver Lake to Glendale.
Okay.
Sorry,
I only know Arts District.
They're going to rebuild. They have that bridge also is 120 some years old. It's also got cancer, and they've got to rebuild that one. And they're still fighting over whether or not it's going to have a bike lane. Looks like it won't.
Yeah.
Whether or not it's going to have a pedestrian lane or it's strictly cars, and that's been going on for months and months and months. So.
Well, there's a lot of wonderful things that are happening here, and
But they're just this is just going to be. You
Right.
want to get across the river, you have to go around to another
well,
street.
for the short term, certainly. It's
There
gonna
are
be part
bridges
of
on
it.
a lot of these other streets.
We have
but,
four of the 13 historic bridges in Los Angeles are in the Arts District. They connect to Boyle Heights, where they're our connector. And so, and there's a lot of great historic buildings here in the neighborhood as well. And I think there's a great appreciation of history here in the neighborhood. And people, that's actually been part of the reason. There was recently, last Thursday at City Hall, there has been this major thrust to zone our neighborhood. It was originally going to be an Arts District specific zone ordinance. And I have to give the city a couple of extra points for being strategic, but certainly we will be working to keep it going to a positive way, but they call it now the hybrid live-work zone ordinance, or the high zone, or the high ordinance. And the community with LARABA, which is the Los Angeles Los Angeles River Artist Business Association, LARABA. It's a long-time neighborhood council that's well before the council system, and then the HCNC, and then there's the Arts District Community Council. Those three organizations and many other residents in the community are working together to really protect historic structures like the bridge and other things, other buildings here in the neighborhood, but to have a really responsible way of looking at growth. So we do have a mixture of high rises and others.
I noticed on the way over, of course, we're also basically right across the street from Little Tokyo.
Yeah.
Right.
We call it Skid Rokyo. But that's okay. And not Little Tokyo, but Skid Rokyo. There's that myth, and I don't mean that in a derogatory. It's more. There's a little area that's a boundary.
Little Tokyo is like a couple of blocks north.
Little Tokyo. That's our sister community.
But I noticed when I got off the Gold Line, I noticed they're building an underground station. Looks like an underground station for the Blue Line, and just diagonally across the street from the Gold Line station. Why? I mean, generally.
This is the new transit hub. So the Arts District and Little Tokyo is the new transit hub. So that's why you're seeing so much growth with One Santa Fe, the Gary building.
Is that so they can basically get surface buses, et cetera, in here? Because they can't, obviously, at the 7th Street Metro Station, which is where the Blue Line currently connects to the Red Line, and where basically the line that goes to Long Beach connects to the main lines here in Los Angeles. It's because they can't really get buses and stuff over there, right?
Well, again, and I'm not the expert when it comes to that. Again, mine's just been really documenting the community and being involved with the community. But what I do understand that, at least from my understanding of how transportation, how the city and the state and county are viewing transportation for Los Angeles, I know the Arts District, a lot of the construction and speculation and speculative purchases, the large purchase that you mentioned, as well as many others, has been the idea that this ultimately will be this transportation hub. And that's where there's this idea of doing more density. And while I am not against density, I don't think many people are against it. It's the idea of doing something responsible and logical to have a wonderful, healthy mix of the history with the new and building for the future. So many of us have really looked to make this neighborhood a long-term success story, would be to ensure that whatever is built that's new has an integrity and has the quality of workmanship that's going to last beyond, like the other bridges, like these other wonderful places.
Well,
that's important.
Yeah, the reason I found it unusual is because they don't usually add a line, in the middle of where they've already got stations.
There's going to be another
There's
station
more
too.
focus on extending things, like the Purple Line's now getting
Absolutely.
extended out from Fairfax and then through Beverly Hills. But
It's actually coming in through here. That's why it's going to be, that is a major issue that we are addressing. And I can't go into all the details, but the idea is that the Purple Line is going to be next to the 6th Street Bridge. That's actually part of the expansion. So this is going to be a huge connector eventually. But as we build responsibly and have solid historic and new structures that can provide the support for the growth of it. So it's going to be huge.
well, I'll tell you that if you went back with a time machine 30 or 40 years and bet anybody in my generation, any of the people I went to school with, and said, bet them that Los Angeles would ever have a transit system that worked,
Right?
I would have bet 99% this would never happen.
I know, right? Look at this. I would not have been able to even do what I'm doing right now, which is this temporary residential move while I'm still working here. I would never be able to live in the South Bayway, working still in the Arts District and still occasionally living here, if it wasn't for better transportation. I mean, with the, what do they call it? The flex, there's that, oh my God, it's the thing that makes you go quickly on the freeway, right? Fast Track. There's Fast Track. There's now, you can actually even take the buses directly from South Bay to other places to downtown, and now with the West Side. I think I would have never guessed.
In the rush hour, it took over an hour to get over Laurel Canyon.
Yeah.
Now it takes 20 minutes because the metro system is taking the pressure off.
Yeah, it's great.
Yeah.
I mean, that's actually really, the Gold Line has been really great. I remember when that opened up, and I'm a big cyclist, so I'm an urban cyclist, and I love riding my bike. The Arts District from 3rd Street to 7th Street is 1 mile, one way. Not everybody still feels like that's walkable like other parts of downtown, which is shorter spans of spaces. But so that's why I bicycle a lot. So luckily I'm bicycle distance to the Bread Lounge, my favorite place.
Yes. Well, I was also was getting around, at least for the last 5 years, on the metro and my bicycle.
Yeah.
I broke my knee last year. I'm afraid that there may be an electric moped in my future.
Can you get that on the metro?
Yes, you can.
Okay,
As
awesome.
long as it's electric
Yeah.
and not gas. Yeah.
Yeah.
And they've even got it collapsible.
Oh, I have a foldable bike. I'm a turn rider.
Right, because that way you don't have to worry about if the bus has,
Sure.
the buses only have 2 bike racks on the front. If it collapses, you don't have to worry about the rack on the bus being full.
Well, there's the new bike share program that's going to be starting up with Metro, and that's very exciting for this neighborhood and for other neighborhoods as well. At our farmers market, which is every Thursday night at nighttime here in the Arts District from 5 to 9, I think it was last week or the week before, they brought the sample bikes that you can get off the bus, you can get the bike, and you can ride wherever you're going to go, and I think that's pretty cool.
That is pretty cool.
Yeah.
It's like a zip car, but for
It's like a zip
bicycles.
car with bikes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Although, I rode a bike here for the last 5 years.
Yeah.
And I always rode on the sidewalk.
No, I
Forget
still
the
do.
bike
I'm
lanes.
sorry. I know
because
that's not popular.
even the cop, and supposedly it's
It's legal.
It's illegal.
No, it's legal. In the city of Los Angeles, it is legal to ride your bicycle on the sidewalk as long as it's not, I forgot the terminology, but as long as you're not being,
Right.
like
Of course,
crazy.
the city of Los
So,
Angeles, a lot of people don't know, there are 80 municipalities
yeah,
that make
some
up
of them are different, yeah.
the Los Angeles,
West
the greater
Hollywood.
Los Angeles area, West Hollywood, Burbank, Santa
You
Monica.
can't do it there.
These are all, individual incorporated municipalities. And the city of Los Angeles is the area that snakes through and between, and there are large areas that are
Yeah.
Los Angeles, like Hollywood, Studio
Yeah.
City, but 1 minute you're in one municipality, next minute you're in another. But the bottom line is, I was never hassled about riding on the sidewalk in any municipality, because even the police on bicycles ride on the sidewalk because they know how tuned out those people in their cars are.
Yeah.
You'd be insane to be out there without a barriered bike lane, okay, with those fools in their cars. They're in their lanes. Los Angeles has the worst drivers in the world. They're in their lanes,
yeah.
but they're completely tuned out. They're on their cell phones. They do not see you. Forget it. Do not cross the street in Los Angeles and assume that the guy in the car is going to, do what he's supposed to do.
And again, that's another whole show you should do on bicycling, because actually that's an interesting subject, and there's some great people, but I mean, I cycle, and I bicycle responsibly, but even as a cyclist, when I'm driving, it is hard to see. I mean, I also grew up on motorcycles. I don't ride on the streets, but I think that was my biggest shocker when I moved to LA and I saw people zooming between lanes, and I was like horrified because it's illegal where I'm from in Texas. But that's, again, another whole story.
Yeah.
It's kind of an interesting thing. I think as long as you are being aware and mindful in driving, bicycling, or motorcycling, the reality is that's important. So, hey, that's the real Angelino thing, to be mindful, but be mindful, namaste, when you're doing it.
I always wore a helmet when I was
Yeah, I
riding
still
a
wear a
bicycle.
helmet.
And I'm glad I did, because
Yeah.
riding on the sidewalk on Hollywood Boulevard, I managed to slam full speed in one of those big aluminum
Yeah.
light poles. Looking at some girl, and she was walking the other way. It's still the number one cause of distracted driving accidents. It's not cell phones or eating or the radio. It's rubbernecking. Yeah.
Well, so
So
back to the Arts District.
back to the
I'm
Arts
sorry,
District.
I love it so much. I have to go back to that.
I haven't
Let's chat.
seen. So you were talking about bike lanes here. I haven't seen any.
Well,
because
actually,
I've
no,
walked around.
A couple of years ago, we got bike lanes here in the Arts District. There are several on 3rd. I can think of a few of them right now. That's actually a lot of bike racks. And again, I'll have to tip my hat off even to our council members and HCNC, La Robin, AD, CCLA, I can never say that right, sorry. But basically, you'll see quite a few bike racks and bike stations in our neighborhood. I used to actually, on my website, on downtownmuse.com, I actually have a list of where you can park, including bikes, but now it's expanded so much, I need to update that because there's so many bike racks now. Bike
Actually,
lanes are getting better.
You have a book of photos of the Arts District here. I've been taking photos with my phone because it's always in my pocket. I've been taking photos, and I have many of them, of when you see just the bike frame.
Yeah.
Still, connected to a parking meter
Oh,
or
and everything's stolen.
a sign
Yeah,
with
it's
one
gone.
of those U-locks, and
Yeah.
every other piece is gone. It's been picked completely clean, and it's so sad. But I probably have 50 or 60 of these photos now.
There you go. You
all
need
the
to do
way
a
from
book.
Santa Monica College
You need to do a
right
book.
over here. Of course, speaking of riding on the sidewalk across the street from here is post-apocalyptic.
Oh, yeah.
Because so many years of the trees overgrowing,
Sure.
and you actually can't ride on the sidewalk on that. You can on this side.
Well, I'm glad you mentioned that. So, I mean, that's been the whole issue too. Again, there's a lot of hype about the neighborhood, but it's kind of sad that you think about the fact that people have lived here for so many years, and we really haven't had city services until recently. I mean, literally, I think it was a year and a half, 2 years ago, I saw my first. Those are my dogs. Another reason why I photographed. But basically, that's Vachi and Foxy, by the way. Where'd they go?
I have a dog
They
out there
just
myself
protected us.
somewhere.
Oh yeah, Jasmine's here too. Okay. But I saw my first street sweeper, and I was just like, oh my God. And then we actually got trash pickup service in the past few years too. Again, had to photograph it. I could not believe it. So
Well, let's hope that block, just one block north of here,
Yeah.
remains uncontrolled parking, because uncontrolled parking is very rare. It's just, that means there's no.
I don't know if I want uncontrolled parking. We need
You
something
know what?
controllable here.
The LA Parking Enforcement Bureau, which by the way
Yeah.
is not a court, it's a company, and yes, they steal your money and lie.
Yeah.
They've been giving tickets for any cars parked more than 72 hours.
Well, we still have, and
So
this is gonna,
even if it's completely uncontrolled parking,
Right,
as
no,
it is
still.
over here, where there's
Right.
no street cleaning once a week, there's no
we have no
parking.
street cleaning. We still don't have regular street cleaning, and the only reason we have it, it's because there's 3 developments that span around 3rd Street. I live right above Eat, Drink, Americano, and where Cerviteca restaurant are. And they have the new development on Gary. They have the new forthcoming development on 3rd, and then of course one Santa Fe. But when one Santa Fe was being built, they required them to do this to clean the streets. But I laugh because they never did the entire 3rd Street. They only did it halfway up the street and then turned around. And it was like, whoop, there goes our street cleaning. We got it for the year. Woohoo! So let's hope we get more.
Sure that's not where it turned from the incorporated to the unincorporated portion of Los Angeles?
I know, we have a lot of change. And there's still, there's still these things, parking's, a very, very important issue. And again, because we have such an organized and committed group of residents and business owners and other stakeholders, I think, we have been able to successfully work together in spite of the fact that not everybody's best buddies, but we all have common goals and we all care very deeply about the community. And we'll work towards, overcoming the issues of parking, overcoming the issues of, proper sidewalks and bicycle lanes and all those crazy things and things that other parts of the city might take for granted, potholes, things that we have in the street, I can't begin to tell you how many times that my tires have gone flat in the past couple of years because of construction. I go to, they know me at my tire place, like, hello, I got another screw in my tire. So.
Yeah, LA has, is pothole ridden, and and it's not one of at least until recently, it was not. It was on a lot of lists of poorly managed cities. It's getting better marginally, but there are big problems like the LA Parking Enforcement Bureau, which is not a court and doesn't have to answer to anybody, but you have to answer to them. Okay,
so behind me is actually one of the best examples of the development that's happening in the city. That's actually part of the new Hauserwerth and Schimmel building, and I have to tip my hat to Tyler Stonebreaker and his group at Creative Space. They have brought in some really great new projects, and this is going to be really kind of a really jewel in our neighborhood. And there's quite a few of those.
Where's it? I think I passed this building
yeah, this
down
is
here
on
from
2nd Street. This is the view near, and it will span 2nd to 3rd. It's right across from the new Gary building project that's happening. And this, is a beautiful complex actually. And it's about 5 different buildings. I think originally a majority of it was built for A1 Flour Mills, which was later bought out by, I guess, Pillsbury Flour. But it's been long, as you can see with the graffiti and the wonderful street murals around it, it has been this wonderful changing array of street art for the years that I've lived here in Los Angeles. I've documented that building extensively. I've taken about 100,000 images in the past several years.
I think I've been too. I guess it's the building just immediately, maybe just immediately south of that. That's at 2nd?
Yeah, well, this is 2nd. It spans from Vignes to Gary,
after-hours
2nd to 3rd.
parties.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, over there on 3rd.
The red barn.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. That actually is. There's a really Woo Souvenir Shop is actually on Gary Street now, and that's actually on the other side of this. This side of the building faces Cerviteca and Eat, Drink, Americano, and it's a great space. This one, again, you have to point out those wonderful projects have done good. I mean, the Biscuit Lofts is a prime example of good development in the neighborhood, where they've taken this amazing historic building and properly got it together to make this amazing space. Of the 35 some odd spaces or buildings that people live in our neighborhood, only 5 of them have been, adaptive reuse that you can purchase and buy. So the other 30 some odd buildings that people live in our neighborhood are mostly artisan residence buildings. So that's why those 3 projects that I was referring to earlier are so challenging for many to make sure that we do things properly, because they're building apartments that are smaller that will have greater turnover, and that's the one Santa Fe and the Gary building and the other 3rd Street building. So we really want to work together with those, now the developers, one Santa Fe is already built, but the others, to make sure that there is a commitment to the community to make sure we have proper housing for the creative professionals that we want to maintain and live here.
That they can afford.
Yeah, okay, this is one Santa Fe. Now, the other day, they did mention that this was 90% leased. Now, my ex-husband his father was a pretty well-known mathematician, and he always used to tell me how you could really kind of baffle people and bullshit them, pardon my language, with numbers. And so I would like to say that either everyone in there is extremely energy efficient, because when you drive by there at night, no less or no more than half, if not a third of the building is even lit. So I'm assuming that everybody lives in darkness here. Now, it's a great opportunity to do something special, and there's some wonderful restaurants that are in there now. I mean, I do go to Cafe Gratitude, and Edibles, wonderful, by the way, and I'm very excited about Grow Market being there. But I think the importance is for developments like this and others is to be sure and to reach out to the community. And we hope that residents that do live in these buildings will reach out and not be part of the drive-in, drive-out, and not be engaged in the community. And I think that's what's going to keep our neighborhood special, is to ensure that residents who come in to the neighborhood feel welcomed, and also will be as actively engaged as those that have lived here for quite some time.
Does it have a sign that says, if you lived here, you'd be home by now?
I think it does. I think if you look on there, it's there.
Yeah. So they're not driving in and out.
Well, some of them, they are. So I hope that, I think there's an effort. I know there's an effort by people that have been involved with the community for a very long time, that we want to ensure that people will reach out and be involved. I mean, I think that's the opportunity about being here. I think it, again, it helps foster creativity. We want people to be engaged. Again, we have people, we're friends and neighbors. We have a common passion and love of this neighborhood.
Well, Los Angeles, especially downtown Los Angeles, is becoming the victim of its own success. I mean, it's becoming expensive and crowded.
Yeah. So we do need housing. I appreciate that. And again, that's why responsible, well thought out development is important.
Yeah, of course, you can rent a city loft over here if that's, I mean, converting downtown lofts to residential spaces, a booming business down here in downtown LA.
Yeah, and that's why it's
I'm
important.
not talking about the Arts District, I'm talking about right across the street here.
Everywhere, yeah. And, I mean, it's become the kind of the trendy thing, and it's been interesting to see what is considered a loft space.
Yeah.
I'm kind of laughing. It's like, okay, somebody can actually live and work in 500 square feet. I'm sorry, what I do, I need a little more space to do what I do, and I'm not, a painter or a sculptor or even others other makers that might need more space. I mean, I think there's a need for industrial spaces that people can work in, because even if, and the biggest issue that I've been hearing, the big argument, it's like, oh, we want to make it affordable, so we should make it smaller. But that, if you're a working professional of any type, any creative professional, yeah, you can afford that live space, but you're still going to have to go look for a workspace. So it's still not, why not go ahead and just
Depends
stop
on what
it?
you do.
But
Depends on what you do.
Exactly.
I mean, people in San Francisco are living in 500 square feet.
But the reality,
and working at home.
But they're going to seek out other spaces. They're going to work
at
they're going to look for some other space too. So I think, why not provide adequate space to begin with, because that in itself will make it affordable. Because you're still going to need to look for something if you're not working at your laptop on your iPhone. I mean, certainly that kind of professional can certainly be in a smaller space.
Yeah. For people who are not from Los Angeles is an geographically enormous area. It's the largest county in the U.S. Geographically, and I think it may be the second or third largest in terms of population. Yeah. So, and that city of Los Angeles that snakes through all those other 79 other municipalities, there's the incorporated part of Los Angeles and the unincorporated part of Los Angeles. And there's still some areas down here in the city. I mean, West Hollywood, before it incorporated as a city, was part of the unincorporated portion of Los Angeles County, which is why the sheriff was the law enforcement, and when they incorporated as a city 30 years ago or so, they just contracted with the sheriff to keep doing the law enforcement. But
Oh, I'm sorry. I wanted to point out before the slide change. Can you go back to that I don't know if Mark is our wonderful producer and friend and host and producer of this show. So I don't know. There was actually behind you before. Pardon me, but I wanted you to see that image because this one behind us is actually very special too. It's actually from the other night at the Grand Parade of Little Tokyo, which was so amazing. But there was an image, and I'll go back and I'll just. What's that?
Go back one.
Can you go back one image? I wanted to point out because what you were talking about was again that kind of marriage of the past, the present, and the future, and it's one of the images that has been very popular. Mark, it was the one that I had the kind of the creamery, the challenge creamery. It was second floor. I'll show you. There. So behind us, this to me is a very important part of the. Again, you were talking about Los Angeles, but for the Arts District, this is kind of an iconic image because you have. On the left side of it, the non-graffitied side is actually the Challenge Creamery, which again, that historic building. You can barely see a little red and white. That was the Mega Toys, which is now Gary Building, but you see the construction. And then you see further down the street it's not built yet, but it was being built as One Santa Fe. And on the right is where the Hauser, Wirth, and Schimmel building are. And what I really love about this piece, I happened to capture it during a time, because we have a lot of wonderful trees that Joel Bloom and La Raba early on planted throughout our neighborhood, a lot of flowering trees. And this is one of the most beautiful streets in the spring because the Jacaranda, you can see it looks like it's fallen off the mural. And it's that time when everything, of course, it's the messiest tree ever, but to me it's the most beautiful because it really paints the streets. But what I love about it, it does kind of show past, present, and future. Because you're looking at the present of the street art, which was a big part of the scene here for many years and still continues to be an attraction. But then you see the history, and again, with Mega Toys now gone, but you see Challenge Creamery, which is, I think, recently it's on the market. And then further down, we're One Santa Fe. And this is kind of, for me, an image that I keep going back to because it just kind of captures in a nutshell. And it kind of fit into
They're all over Beverly Hills, too.
What's that, the Jacarandas? Okay.
We call them jacaranda trees. Yeah, those purple trees.
Purple beauty. Yeah. Anyways, so but I think that's important. Again, we're just kind of a microcosm as the Arts District for the rest of the city, and I think that's well taken with your experience in other parts of the city and being here. It's just that it's a struggle, and not a struggle. I guess it's the idea of appreciating that past and not letting it get obliterated, but also appreciating the present and where we are, but not being stuck in that present so much that we can't see the future.
Right.
And I think that's what's really important.
The reason that anybody in my generation would have bet you that there never would be a transit system here was, aside from the size of Los Angeles, primarily that the political will would never be here to do it.
Yeah, and and I really have to say, that's the good thing that I've learned in recent years is being more engaged politically, which I really haven't been, and I still am a little bit. There's some really great people in the neighborhood that have provided a lot of great leadership that I have actually learned a lot from, and that's been rewarding for me personally because you can see you can affect change
on the local level. Yeah. Politics works because people care more about actually having a transit system than they do about holding out for their partisan. It's in Washington that it's
case in point. Case in point,
dysfunctional.
At that high zone ordinance I told you about on Thursday, there was a petition that went around the neighborhood, over 300 signatures, and additionally 155 letters were personally written to say, please go back and review this. You did look at several of the major points that worked well for us, but there's still things that you didn't look at, and we are engaged and we want to make it happen. So your point's well taken, the fact that we can affect change, and I think that's what's really exciting for us is to say, we don't want to be against change. We want to be forward thinking and we want to work together. And we actually do have that ability. And I'm really proud of our neighborhood because of that.
My philosophy is embrace change because
it's going to happen.
Because when you're done changing, you're
dead. And speaking of, this is actually Citizens Warehouse. And I caught this the other day. It was actually, I think there's some movement going on in that. It's I guess people are calling it Pickle Works. Well, it's a Citizens Warehouse. It's right north of First Street Bridge, and I can tell something's happening over there. So there's some wheat pastes that are happening over here right now. And there's I think he's a street artist called Cat Cult. but that's a wheat paste that was behind there. But I think something's about to happen.
All right, this is where the there's a large figure of Ronald Reagan selling political influence, right?
No, that's on the other side. That's actually near the 4th Street Bridge. This is actually 1st Street Bridge, and it's over where Cleveland Art is right now. It's a vintage, repurposed type of art place. It's actually absolutely wonderful. It's at what is called
right. So this is the bridge
near
just
Santa Fe
south
and
of
First.
the.
It's north.
It's the one that goes between the new station they're building and the existing little Tokyo
Right, it's
Orange Line
before,
station.
it's where Center Street turns into Santa Fe, right in the 1st Street Bridge, and right near Oso, which is the former Little Pedro's. It's a great new restaurant and bars and nightclub. Actually, that's kind of near that too. So it's awesome over there.
Right. Yeah,
There's a lot of wonderful things that have actually, a
that's
lot of
actually
great new
a good
businesses.
shortcut down to Art Share LA, not to be
Yeah.
confused with Artstream, LA Artstream.
What's really great
Yeah.
with the change, I have to say this, there's been some wonderful things that have actually, wonderful businesses, and I'm really proud of the local businesses that have actually become more visible on the street, meaning a storefront. So for example, Apollos and Paqueto, several of and Woo, they were designer makers, manufacturers, and so forth, and tastemakers that were behind the scenes working in their loft spaces before they opened retail storefronts in 2012, 2013. And so that's been really exciting. Then you have wonderful businesses that started in recent years, 2012, 2013, like the Pie Hole, which is so popular. I can never say it right, but our friends at Verskuke, okay, I'm a German girl, but I can't even say Verskuke. So everybody says it wrong, or at least I do. But that was a major game changer, the beer and sausage place on 3rd and Traction. So there's that's been, I think, the most exciting thing for me. It's not just, like you mentioned, the fancier restaurants, and I love those too.
No,
frankly.
it's everything. I mean,
love
there's
them
a lot of
too.
studios.
Daily
right
Dose
down,
is
right down the
awesome, and
street
that's a
here is
neighborhood
DC
place.
Studios.
Yeah, but wonderful places like the Daily Dose. It's, again, Sarkis is my neighbor and friend, and he lives on 3rd Street, but he also has this wonderful cafe that's just a beautiful little hideaway off Industrial Street. You have so many great places. I mean, I can't even go out, I can't even keep up. But Bread Lounge I mentioned as well, and Urban Radish, and it's just exciting to be here at this time, and I'm proud of it. So we want to encourage that type of business, encourage that growth and activity, so we're excited about it. And that's why I'm documenting everything I can. I've documented, I'm a person that's just constantly shooting. So now behind you see is actually some of the South Bays. When I moved, for this month-to-month part-time time in the South Bay, I was worried that I thought I was just gonna have some time to relax, and I am in between working full-time. But it's been lovely because here I'm an insider and I shoot because it's a different kind of feeling and emotion, and there I'm the new person. And it's that sense of discovery. And I have been really enjoying that and realizing that my work is very emotional. I know that.
Is that the Redondo Beach
That's
Pier?
actually, no, that's Manhattan. Redondo has the largest horseshoe-shaped pier in the world, I think, and the only one on the West Coast. And that's Redondo Pier right there. I love it. I go there every night. It feels like downtown Los Angeles because it's very diverse ethnically, and it's 24 hours. That's Hermosa. That was really fun. They have these lifeguard competition. Again, they have this hometown neighborhood feel that I love that's in the Arts District, and it's there. And I love that I get this opportunity to have this sneak peek in a window into a community, and to hopefully now be part of a community that's Hermosa. They lit the beach. This is at night, untouched photo. I love it. So I get, it's a great healing, cleansing place for me personally. And again, I hope that I can continue to be in both places because I get so much richness out of being in both. So
I've worked in that ghost town that Howard Hughes, the Hughes Aerospace left when the Cold War collapsed.
Which
basically El Segundo.
I love it. If you went to the museum there, it's such a great, rich art scene now. South Bay has really rich art scene.
I wonder what was going to happen in that neighborhood because, of
It's
course,
fantastic.
just up the road,
Yeah.
Playa Vista, is now Silicon Beach.
Yeah.
And
No, you should
DreamWorks
go.
originally wanted to put their
Yeah.
studio there.
No, it's great. I think the next big, so this is a good place as we're proceeding, but I think the cool thing is, I think the next arts district, hopefully it'll continue to be our arts district, but the new arts districts will pop up in Hawthorne and in Gardena. because they're beach adjacent and they have industrial spaces still that are there. And I think that's exciting. So
Is there still a casino in Gardena?
I don't do casinos, so I have no idea.
I'm pretty sure there's still at least a couple of card clubs down there.
Okay.
Yeah, it's
so I think it's exciting to be the kind of the next where else to go. So and so this has been kind of a good transition period for me. I committed to doing this for a year back and forth because one of my clients is Toyota. That's why I'm doing it. So it's exciting to see what's next. What's next in the arts district?
What are your clients? We never talked about the public relations, which is the other thing you do. Is that correct?
I have a marketing firm called CauseConnect, and that's actually my bread and butter. And so I have corporate clients. I also manage Cheech Marin's Chicano art collection.
Okay, so it's marketing. It's not public relations.
It's marketing.
Okay.
It's completely different. Thank you for noticing that. Yay!
Well,
Not everybody knows that.
The first database I wrote was for the publicity department, Rhino Records.
You know, okay.
And we were right next to the marketing department. Marketing is paid advertising, and publicity is trying to generate.
Well, marketing is actually all of those. Marketing's an umbrella. So marketing is the umbrella that includes PR, that includes advertising. It's a multitude of things. It's that collective.
Yeah.
And so I'm a marketing specialist. PR is not my specialty, but I can do PR, which I think why that confuses people. But
PR is trying to get the news media to write about your product
unpaid,
or your actor.
which is more valid, and it's harder to
yourself
get.
If you're an actor,
Yeah. So, but I started CauseConnect right after 9/11. I was working for the Library Foundation, producing exhibitions and doing sponsorship. And prior to that, I worked for Gene Autry when he launched the museum.
The LA Library?
I did for the city.
We were just, before this thing, Mark and I were talking about how they did that beautiful renovation of the Downtown Library.
I know, it's so great.
Right before libraries basically became obsolete. Yeah. But they're making good use of the space. I've been to several lectures and
the exhibits there. I mean, I'm very proud. That's what I did. I actually raised money for that. And so when I raised $1 million to bring the Emancipation Proclamation as part of a team to do this exhibition, and part of it was to have a role to do something, to be part of that, and to have and I thought, wait, I'm going to be doing my job and doing this. I'm going to segue out and start my business. So I started my business with the library in tow, and at that time City National, and then later Target and Toyota as my clients. So I do cause-related marketing for those clients.
Speaking of which, what's going to happen to Sunset and Western, the southwest corner?
I'm sorry, I only know Arts District.
Oh, okay.
We're Sunset and Western.
They built an enormous.
And I know South Bay, and that's it.
It's basically Target was going to be the center of it.
Okay.
But it was an enormous mixed-use residential commercial.
Okay.
Which they're building all over Los Angeles.
I'm sorry, I don't go west of
Western.
I don't go west of the
Main
110
Street,
freeway.
Right? Yeah, okay.
I'm on this side.
The 110 freeway, by the way,
I go south and I go east.
When you get out of Los Angeles and go to Pasadena, that's the freeway that Judge Doom is talking about in Who Framed Roger Rabbit. It was the first freeway in L.A., and that's the one that was around the time they bought up the red car and tore it out.
Well, I think it's great. This has been really lovely. Thank you for the opportunity to talk about the Arts District and to slip in a little bit about my time in the South Bay. And this South Bay picture kind of is a great sum up of my bridge between the two neighborhoods that I'm in now. And this is at 190, so I love it. So thank you so much.
So, thank you very much.